Chair recognizes Representative Farrar.
Mr. Speaker and members, what I have seen with respect to these several abortion bills is unprecedented in our Texas legislature. The measures in the bill that we will vote on today were considered in the regular session. They all failed. They were again brought up in the first special session. They again failed. And through each special session, we've seen high levels of public participation, unprecedented even for a regular session, from both sides. But overwhelmingly, we've seen opposition to this bill. We've seen opposition in such large numbers that in the first special session, the House committee that heard the bill had to be delayed by a day. We've seen opposition in such large numbers that citizens observing here in the Senate and the Capitol delayed the final vote on the bill, ensuring that it did not pass during the first special session. And despite this vast opposition, today we find ourselves called back to consider these resurrected measures. The Texas legislature sure is working hard to pass these measures into law. Why are we working so hard to pass this legislation? Proponents of the bill talk about protecting the unborn and preventing abortion. If we care about protecting children, there's much we can do to help them. But in my nearly 20 years here as a state representative, I have never seen the legislature work this hard to act in the interest of born children. In fact, the only time it's addressed public school funding is in reaction to a lawsuit, never proactively to provide children enough funding for their schools. Nor have we worked hard enough to protect or help children that lack stable homes. As of May 31st of this year, 6,413 children are waiting to be adopted. These children have parents whose rights have been terminated. As the child gets older, many of you know her chances of getting adopted decrease. Children aged 0 to 2 years old are adopted at a rate of 35%, while children aged 14 and up, that number goes down to 14%. These are real problems faced by Texas children that we could address in this legislature. If we care about preventing abortion, there's another way to do it without risking women's health. We can work to prevent unintended pregnancies. When women have access to family planning services, unintended pregnancies are far less likely. By adequately funding women's health care, we can help get women access to those services. Instead, though, this legislature in the 82nd session forced family planning clinics across the state to shut down, and women lost access to those services. That same session, Planned Parenthood, which had provided health care services to nearly half the women through the Women's Health Program, was banned from participating in the program. The Women's Health Program, as you know, is intended to give women access to health screenings and family planning services. Despite these important services, though, a major provider was banned because of ideology. And the effect, however, was the closure of several other providers as well. In this session, while I was delighted to see the increased funding for women's health, there's still much we can do to increase access to family planning services and preventative care, namely to restore the provider network that the majority in this legislature destroyed. We can also work to prevent unintended pregnancies by better educating young adults. Our state has placed heavy emphasis on abstinence-only education. In turn, we have one of the highest teen pregnancy rates in the nation. Texas, in fact, is ranked 47th in the country for teen birth rates, according to the 2012 data released by the National Campaign to Prevent Teen and Unplanned Pregnancy. We should be working to reform that. Requiring that comprehensive sex education be taught in schools would surely help to prevent unintended teen pregnancies. There are serious problems Texans face. I'd like to see us work as hard as we have during these special sessions to pass measures to solve them. We've been focusing our efforts instead on bills that do little more than address an ideology. Let's make no mistake. The bill we are voting on doesn't solve problems like the ones I've been discussing. In fact, the authors have struggled to identify the impetus for the bill. We have not heard of specific problems or complications at current clinics. We have not heard of any specific need for doctors to have admitting privileges. We have not heard specifically how the procedures performed in ambulatory surgical centers will increase safety. We have not heard why a woman needs to go to an ambulatory service center to take a pill. However, we have heard from major mainstream medical organizations, the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the Texas Medical Association, and the Texas Hospital Association. They oppose this bill. We've also heard from the Department of State Health Services that there have only been 5 deaths from abortions since 2000, with the last one occurring in 2008. This is in contrast to the 737 maternal deaths from 2000 to 2010. This bill does not solve any of these problems, but it will cause these. 37 of the state's 42 clinics will be forced to shut their doors. The 5 remaining clinics will be in urban areas. Access to these services will be severely restricted for women in rural areas. Women will be forced to go to an ambulatory surgical center, one of those 5 remaining clinics, even for a medical abortion. Doctors will lose discretion in treating individual patients. The bill sets forth medical protocol for doctors administering medical abortions. The legislature will intrude deeply on personal decisions intended to be made by a woman in consultation with her doctor. In short, Texas women will lose important access to these services. Losing access to health care does not make women safer. The majority has been working hard to pass this bill. We were elected to the legislature to work hard for Texans, but we should make sure that we direct our hard work to achieve our goals, our best goals, and to better serve our constituents. By passing this bill, we do neither of these things. Texas children deserve better than that. Texas women deserve better than that. All Texans deserve better than that. Thank you.
Members, is anyone else wishing to speak on, for, or against the bill? If not, the chair recognizes Representative Laubenberg to close.
Members, why have we been here for the last close to 50 hours? We're here because the U.S. Supreme Court does grant the states the authority to address this very serious issue. This is not just happening in Texas, but all across the country, in state after state. The court speaks directly to this. The state has a legitimate interest in seeing to it that abortion, like any other medical procedure, is performed under circumstances that ensure maximum safety for the patient. This interest obviously extends at least to the performing physician and his staff, to the facilities involved, to the availability of aftercare, and to the adequate provision for any complication or emergency that might arise. We therefore conclude that the right of personal privacy includes the abortion decision, but this right is not unqualified and must be considered against important state interests in this regulation. The state does have an important and legitimate interest in preserving and protecting the health of the pregnant woman, whether she be a resident of the state or a non-resident who seeks medical consultation and treatment there. And that it has still another important and legitimate interest in protecting the potentiality of human life. These interests are separate and distinct. Each grows in substantiality as the woman approaches term, and at a point during pregnancy, each becomes compelling. This bill focuses on one part of that preborn life, and that is at 5 months, that baby has developed the sensory receptors that it can feel the pain of that abortion. That is what gives us the authority and the right to be here, to do this. This is not about politics. This is heartfelt for every member, and I would say on both sides, it is heartfelt. Politics takes the easy path. This has not been easy for anyone. But this is the right thing to do for who we are as humanity. We heard a lot about abortion is safer than childbirth. There will be deaths with abortions, with the woman who has the abortion. There will be deaths with the woman who carries her baby to term. You've heard the percentages, small numbers, but there is 100% definite death to the 70,000 plus babies who have been aborted in this state. House Bill 2 focuses on both the child and the woman. I thank you all for being here, speaking out, and doing what's right, and I move passage. Thank you.
Members, the question occurs on passage of House Bill 2 to engrossment to record vote. Vote aye, vote nay. The clerk bring the bill. Show Mr. Guerin voting aye. Have all voted? Have all members voted? Being 98 ayes and 49 nays, House Bill 2 is passed in engrossment. Chair recognizes Representative Guerin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. First of all, I would like to thank our guests in the gallery for your wonderful behavior over here. And secondly, I'd like to thank the State Preservation Board staff, the staff of DPS, the State Fire Marshal, the Sergeant's Office of the House, and the Committee Coordinator's Office for handling large crowds for 2 weeks with no major disruptions. This is the Texas State House. The DPS has done a wonderful job. I mean, this is the House, and we run it the way it needs to be run. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Dutton for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, members, I move to suspend all necessary rules and the unnecessary rules to take up and consider House Resolution 25.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there
a couple in my
objection?
district on their 66th wedding anniversary.
None so ordered. Chair lays out the following resolution.
HR 25 by Dutton, congratulating Layla and Vernon Johnson on their 66th wedding anniversary.
Chair recognizes Representative Dutton.
I move adoption.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there objection? Chair is none. So ordered.
I move to add all members' names, Mr. Speaker.
Members, you've heard the motion. Is there objection? Chair is none. So ordered. Members, are there any further announcements? Chair recognizes Representative Branch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I think it's in order that we thank both Chairman Guerin and the Speaker for the way they've handled the business of this week. Thank you, members.
If there are no further announcements, Representative Bell moves the House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow in memory of Craig Ray Arts of Magnolia. House stands adjourned.